I messed up the proposal. That's what we're going to be talking about on this week's episode. And if you want to go back to the story, first off, if you are new to Finding the One, we highly recommend going back to episode 1 to watching from the beginning. But if you want to catch up to what happened just before the proposal, which was Jen finding out that she was pregnant, you can go to episode number 17 for that. And so we just found out that you were pregnant.
Yeah.
We came back to Austin. We did life here in our new house. You remember that house?
The Jonestown house.
The Jonestown house. We lived like literally up on a mountain overlooking this lake. I remember when we got that house, it was right after me looking you in the eye in Dubai or Saudi Arabia. Where the hell were we?
Abu Dhabi.
When I looked at you in the eye in Abu Dhabi and said that I was going to get us a house. And I remember that we attracted that house because it was perfect, right? But we were pretty isolated. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like if we're isolated now, we were even isolated more back then.
Yeah.
And then we came.
You had to do like the drive coming around the mountains to get to the house.
Terrible. Beautiful view. But just
not
terrible.
Good for the pregnancy sickness, gonna be honest.
Yeah, or social life.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this because it's a very real part of our story. Not only did I mess up the proposal, but the ring was messed up as well. And I don't normally mess things like this up. And I think it's just because I wasn't honoring like my truth. First things first, I was caught up in the whirlwind of all of this. If I'm being honest, there was no part of me that didn't want to be married to you, but there was still back then, gosh, baby, just thinking back, we're just different people.
Like
we're so different people, right? Shit, man, like I literally feel like nothing can faze us now.
I know.
But like back then, everything faced us.
But we didn't think that it did.
But we didn't think. We thought we were healed.
Well, I didn't.
We're pretty close to being healed. But like the beautiful thing is, imagine 10 years from now. Anyways, when we were in London, we saw a ring. And it had a beautiful diamond with 2 stones on the sides. And it looked incredible.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous, this ring. And so I went and I got one done that looked just like that one because I knew that's what you liked. But when I got it, and this is the lesson here, when I got it, I felt that little twinge in my heart, like of disappointment because it didn't look the way that I remember the one that you fell in love with. And right then and there, guys, I should have listened. This goes back to like my favorite saying, it either feels so right, it can't be wrong, or it feels so wrong, it can't be right. And if you really honor that in every situation, like it will lead you to the truth.
I'm getting this twinge in my heart as you're speaking because I'm like, the body doesn't know the difference between just thinking about the experience or actually living the experience. And I'm like putting myself back in that feeling of when you proposed and the ring and the whole thing. And it was just bad.
You know what's funny, babe? There was so much pressure.
Yeah.
And here I am as a guy who doesn't let outside forces influence him, but very much so in this case, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm honest, I think back then there was still a part of me that I hadn't accepted. There was a part of me that, look, let me just call it what it is. I'm a Hispanic guy that knocked up this white girl, like this beautiful white girl, and like there's expectations, right? And I got caught up in all of that. And I'm bringing up the race thing not because it was a thing for you, but I think it was still a thing for me. Like if I'm being honest, and I wanted to do the right thing. Yes, because I loved you and I wanted to marry you. That was never an issue. But it all went down so rushed because I was trying to please everyone but me and you.
Right.
And in many ways, I'm glad it happened because it taught us a lesson, because by the time it came to the wedding, right? And the real proposal and all of that, like everything was perfect. And we were so unattached.
It's so interesting. Like, how many times in our lives do we do things to please other people, forgetting that the only people that really matter, or the only relationship that really matters, is this one. But
Yeah.
we're busy pleasing like our friends or our family or a norm that we have to fit into. I'm like, well, screw it.
I think it's one of the reasons why this last week, that post that I made where I said, never let the family that you came from ruin the family that you're making. I think that's why it was so popular. It got like 1.5 million views, a whole bunch of comments. And I think the reason why is because I think a lot of people struggle with this. One of the comments that I saw was, and it was over and over and over, was, but creating a new family doesn't mean you have to leave behind the old one and disrespect them. And it's so interesting how people see a video like this and essentially project what they make creating a new family means. And that means that whether you like it or not, the energy that you're living from with your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters, whatever, it ain't love. It's guilt, it's control, it's manipulation. Because love allows you to go do whatever it is that you need to go do, you know? And so when someone says, it doesn't mean that you have to disrespect them. Like, no one said that in the video. Your mind, made that up. And I'm obviously saying this because it's a really big issue. It's a big issue in couples where the couple cannot be free to be themselves because the family members, the mother, the father, the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the uncles are so intertwined in the relationship. And the couple and the people in the couple are trying to please everybody else instead of their partner. And that's because the partner is just a reflection. And the truth is, they don't know how to honor their own truth. So they'll never be able to honor the truth in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's what happened, So I remember it. Do you remember it?
What?
The proposal?
The proposal, yeah.
I want to hear, what was it like from your perspective?
Well, the weirdest thing is that I woke up that morning, and to give everyone context, my mum was throwing us like a welcome home, congratulations, you're having a baby kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it was meant to be a surprise. And I typically don't do very well with surprises. But I woke up that morning and I was like so anxious. Do you remember? I was like, what's going on? Can someone tell me what's going on? Like, I could feel this energy of essentially my intuition knowing something's about to happen that I don't think I'm going to like very much. And often we ignore those signs. So we wake up, we're anxious, and we're like, why do I feel anxious? But on reflection, it was because my body knew it wasn't comfortable.
It wasn't right.
It wasn't right.
It wasn't the way you wanted.
Something didn't feel right. So I remember saying, we all sat down for this celebration tea, and I was like, thank God it was just like the surprise was my friends coming over. Like, I thought you were going to propose. Do you remember I said that to you?
Did you really?
Yes.
I don't remember.
I was like, thank God you didn't propose. That should have been the biggest telltale sign of, don't propose. This isn't the moment.
Yeah, it should.
Don't propose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as soon as you hadn't proposed, my nervous system calmed down because I knew that the surprise was just friends and family coming over. But then we were all sitting down around the sofa and you started doing this speech.
And your dad tossed me the ring and I caught it.
Yeah.
It was so cringe. It was so cringe. I don't even know what I said.
I don't even know what you said.
And I remember
someone has it on video. I've not been able to watch it back.
Yeah, that's probably not a good idea. But I think the thing that really hurt, like bothered me the most, was that what you said was true. You said, like, what you said in that moment, like, you didn't even really like speak to me. Like you didn't share your love to me, and or for me or with me, and you know, and I was disappointed in myself, quite frankly, because it was like, check, got it done.
Yeah. And for me, and I want to kind of say what happened in the months following and how I kind of digested this and processed it. But oh, it's quite heavy, isn't it? What I was so confused about was I knew that you knew me very well. I'm a very private person. I don't like being center of attention, like in that kind of environment. I just, especially in a romantic moment, you know, I just like to be with you. Even on my birthday this year, you were like, let's do it with friends. I'm like, no, babe, I just want to be with you. I just want to be with you. So knowing that you knew all that about me, I couldn't understand why you thought that proposing in front of like my entire family and friends would have been a good idea.
Can I take it a step further?
Oh God, what?
If I'm honest with myself, like, you know, any advice any guy ever asks me, I always say, whatever you do, don't do it like at a restaurant or like in front of the family, or like go take her somewhere private, make it special. And I didn't even like, baby, I'm telling you, I was so caught up.
We were so out of sorts. Like, to give ourselves grace and understanding, we literally had only been together for a few months. We find out that we're pregnant. I have to somehow manage to move my whole life across the world, stop working, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that something like this happened. We weren't in our power. We weren't ourselves.
No.
Well, of course we weren't ourselves. We were both going through huge identity shifts and challenges.
I remember like when I had just told the kids that you were pregnant.
Oh yeah.
So that alone was very difficult for them at that time. Obviously, you know, things are wonderful now, but I remember my oldest saying literally that, I never told you this, what I'm about to tell you. He said, Tata, you're doing the same thing you did with Mama. He said that like, you're just rushing it. And I was so like in the moment that
he was right.
He was fucking right. He was right. And I couldn't realize it. I couldn't like recognize it at the time. Do you know? And so all of it was way off. But here's the kicker. The kicker is that if you look at the pictures, we smiled, we hugged, we kissed.
We did this.
Everyone is happy. We did the showing of the ring. And this is where like I always challenge all of you to like go deep and like ask yourself, like, is it for show, or do you really feel in your heart what you are doing? Because in that moment, I can be honest, and this is not a reflection of how I felt for you, the way I went about proposing to you in that moment wasn't in my heart. It was in my ego and in my fear. And as a man who has a lot of pride around doing shit like right and like the ring not being right, are you me? No. I don't mess up with stuff like that. I messed up all of it. So it was very humbling.
I remember having the ring and waking up the next morning and thinking, I don't like it. And like,
did you say it? You didn't say anything though, right?
Well, it started slowly for me not to speak my truth on something like that. Do you know, that is so hard for me.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to upset you. I didn't want to upset anyone. But I'm looking at this thing on my finger that now symbolizes a moment that I didn't like, I don't actually like the way that it looks or feels on me. How am I possibly going to tell the man I love that this is all a big fuck up? Because we didn't speak about it. We didn't acknowledge that it was a fuck up in the moment.
No, it was later.
Way later. And I remember exactly what happened.
What happened?
I was having a really hard time in that time of my life of integrating all these shifts. So moving country, leaving my job, getting pregnant, being with you, being essentially like a stepmom to 3 children, being proposed, I was like, I don't know how to feel in each of these identities. There's like too many to integrate. So I remember on a call with Seema, if you haven't watched Seema on Danny's podcast on The Higher Self, you need to go watch. There's 2 episodes. They are knock out. Incredible. But Seema actually coached me through this deeply wild time in my life. But I remember on a call with her, she said, of course you don't know how to feel about all these things because there's too many. So you need to sit down and think, how does it feel to feel like Jen who lives in America? How does it feel to feel Jen who's pregnant, Jen who's stepmom, Jen who's etc., Jen who's proposed? And I remember journaling one evening and I got to Jen who's proposed and it was like I couldn't permeate the feeling. I was completely numb. It's like, well, I know I should be excited and I know I should be like, yay, getting married, but I don't feel these things. So why don't I? And then it just fucking pummeled me like a ton of bricks, was that all these things were happening in my life. I'm getting a little bit emotional thinking about it. All these things that were happening in my life, the little girl version of me had very clearly envisioned them in a very specific kind of way, as you do. How you're going to fall in love and get proposed to and have a big wedding, you know, try for a baby and you're going to pee on a stick and you're going to see it. It's going to be like, yay, we're pregnant. And I hadn't had any of those moments. I felt robbed. And so for the proposal to then also go wrong, I felt out of control is what I felt. I felt like I'm never going to find out I'm pregnant for the first time ever again. Why am I going to cry? I'm never going to find out I'm pregnant for the first time again. Oh God. Like I'm never going to have my first proposal because there was a second one. I'm never going to get proposed to again. And that's something like I really have to grieve, that it didn't happen the way, the younger version of me always dreamt it was going to happen. So then I remember I had to call you one evening and I just had a complete meltdown and just shared all of this with you, how, I felt completely out of control in my life and nothing was happening the way it was meant to happen. And although I know I can surrender to that, that doesn't mean that I don't feel a type of way about it. Like I'm not going to bypass myself by being like, it's all perfect. Like everything's perfect. Everything's happens the way it's meant to. Because when we say that, yes, truth, but also we're allowed to have feelings about the way things happen, right?
Absolutely.
And that's when I said, I think you need to propose again.
Yeah. And I remember you said, and I don't really like the ring. and both of those things, babe, and seeing you go through that moment, you know, I again, as someone who prides himself in like making sure you're taken care of and you're happy, I don't think I had ever felt that low. Like I felt bad. Like I felt like literally like I am the cause of everything you're feeling.
Well, I think in truth, yes, you may have felt like you were the cause, but I think in truth you knew that you weren't being authentic in yourself.
Sure.
So it was, as you said, it was a bit of a kick me moment, because Danny, in his true Danny style, wouldn't have done anything like that. It's disappointed that you disappointed me, and then it's disappointed that you disappointed yourself.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Feels weird, doesn't it?
It feels really heavy and really alien.
I do want to bring something up. Like I'm so proud of us, and I'm proud of you for sharing what you just shared. Because I remember when we posted about this. We made a post, and it was like, after the actual proposal, the second one, and we said, like, something along the lines of, the first proposal didn't go the way that like we wanted. And I remember so many people's comments, like, how spoiled can someone be? Or like, how, and my reflection on that is that, like, that just goes to show you how trapped people feel in honoring and validating what they actually feel. Because when you're free to feel, then you love it when someone else feels and shares their truth. But when you don't feel free to share your truth, then you're going to make sure that, like, you blame someone else, because that other person is literally reflecting back to you what you wish you could do. And so I think the main purpose of this episode is to, like, honor your truth.
And your desire.
Yeah.
Like the desire of your heart.
Yes.
You know what you want things to feel like.
Yes.
And that's not to say that everything gets to be perfect exactly how we desire it. But in moments where you know that the start of a union between you and the person that you love gets to feel loving and romantic and beautiful. And if it didn't feel like that, you get to ask why.
Yeah. And I want to invite you guys. I don't care if that was 20 years ago, because if you're still holding on to that, trust me, it's an unspoken barrier. It's an energetic thing that you feel, right? And it could be the thing that unlocks other things that you have been afraid to talk about. Talk about them. Like, I was talking to one of our couples in Inner Circle. The guy saw his mother be the masculine, his father was the feminine. As a result, he feels trapped. He's not in his masculine. He attracted someone whose mother got run over by her father, so now she's the masculine. Wow. Right? So now it's all messed up. And he's finally coming to me, like, I think he says something like, she decided to lead us because I can't. And I go, wait a minute, what did you just say? Like, and then I helped him unravel all of it. And at the end, I asked him, what do you honestly want life and your relationship to feel like?
Yeah.
And honor your truth. And when we're living in fear, like, it's like, well, but what if they leave, or what if that, honor your truth. Get very, very clear with what your truth is and what you want to experience life like, what you want it to feel like in relationship. Because I'll tell you right now, the biggest reason for most couples' disagreements, arguments, fights, and chaos is because you have not gotten clear with what you want your life to feel like. And the minute you get clear with the fact that what you want and what you will defend and protect is your peace and your emotional well-being, get ready, because the relationship will take an immediate change right after you decide to change what you've been accepting in your own life. And then fear comes in and tries to say, but what if they go, but what if so then you're not living in love, you're living in fear. Because real love is you being honest with yourself, saying, baby, I didn't like the ring and I didn't like the proposal. And then if I really loved you, what am I going to want to do about that? Make it better. Make it right. I'm sorry, babe.
I forgave you a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I remember that moment when I told you, and I remember how gracious and open and kind you are when I shared my truth.
Because that's all I want is for you to share your truth.
Questions?
I was going to give you a kiss. Let's go to questions. All right, baby. So here's your question. Ready? What advice would you give your younger self for your first time having sex?
Don't feel shame about it. Because at that age, you might not pick the perfect person, and that's okay. But after the thing happens, the thing, having sex happens, don't beat yourself up about it. Yeah. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't have to feel shame about your first time having sex. You just don't. And also, an exercise I did quite recently actually was go back to every single moment that I had sex. Sorry, but I did.
Ugh.
I journaled about it. No, but just thank the person, but cut the energy.
Cut the cord.
And understand what you were going through in that time of your life that made you connected to that person.
Yeah.
It's actually a very healing exercise. Sorry, I've made you uncomfortable.
That's okay.
Okay. Do you think a divorced couple can get back together?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say absolutely. Absolutely they can. I would say if and only when you allow yourself to heal the energy that caused you to come together in the first place. Because if you came together from a wound, that wound showed up in your relationship and caused a whole bunch of this that led to the divorce. There's no rules to this thing called life. You know, let me say that one more time. There is no rules to this thing called life. There's no rules to this thing called marriage. There's no rules to any of it. All of it is a program that was caused by society and religion. And so what you think is right or wrong is based off of society and religion. And I would say first, fuck them both, to be honest with you. That's what I would say. No, you really have to get to that place. And then once you allow yourself to separate and go back and start your healing journey, not to someday get back with them, which if you're asking me that question, like I would tell you, if it's done, it's done. Think of it as done. Focus your energy on your healing journey with yourself, you healing your heart, and hopefully maybe they do as well. And if both of you, after time, find yourself, your true, authentic self, and that authentic self sees their authentic self and goes, oh my God, that's the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, then the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. The scary part is what happens if you don't see them or they don't see you. And that's, I think, the journey of real love. I think the journey of real love is understanding that maybe they will see you and choose you, and maybe you will see them and choose them, and maybe you won't. But you're not going to do anything. You're not going to stay together. You're not going to stay apart. You're not going to, because of a fear. You're going to do it because you want to find yourself, your truth. And from that truth, you want to pick the energy and the heart that would make you live a more beautiful life. That's my answer.
Beautiful.
I like that answer. I like both of the answers. Both of the answers were really good. This was a good episode.
Good episode.
I think next episode we should talk about the fixed proposal.
The fixed proposal.
I see she's getting happy.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you next week on another episode of Finding the One. Thanks for watching Finding the One. Make sure that you take a moment and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Like the videos and episodes that you're watching, and leave us a comment, because both Jen and I always love reading your comments. So once again, if you're watching or listening, go to YouTube right now and subscribe to the channel to never miss another episode of Finding the One.